Drew Brees retirement week. It is Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, St. Patrick's Day week online auction at lasportshall.com. It ends Wednesday at 9. It is LSU basketball got screwed week as clearly the NCAA hates Will Wade. We'll talk about that in a little bit, about their seeding. And LSU baseball, the good and the bad. They sweep up an opponent. Anytime you sweep an opponent and hit 11 home runs on the weekend, that is good. The bad, if you take a starter out of the game for LSU baseball right now, it's a coin flip on whether they can finish it. Tommy Christ and Ronnie Rant's with us. TK will stay right here as we don't have our little open right now at the moment. But Tommy, I want to get your reaction. Not a shock that Drew Brees announced his retirement. Kind of cool that he did it on the anniversary, right, of 15 years to the day of when he signed with the New Orleans Saints. But for the last maybe 3 weeks, there was a chance, it looked like. I mean, he was thinking about coming back. At the end of the day, he didn't.
Well, I'm one of the people who said he wasn't coming back, and I don't think he was thinking about it. I think he was waiting for this anniversary date. You know, some people think that's warm and fuzzy, of when he signed with the Saints. I think that's what clearly he was waiting for, because he kind of stole some national thunder from Selection Sunday on the NCAA tournament with his announcement. But no matter when you do it, it's going to bother something. But I think he was clearly gone. He just, for his personal reasons, he wanted to wait till March 14th on the anniversary of signing with the Saints to make the announcement. I'm going to guess Mickey Loomis, Sean Payton already knew the answer to that. The way they moved Drew Brees' contract, and the way they've been moving everybody else's, including Taysom Hill yesterday, they changed his whole thing to free up salary cap space. So we'll just I wasn't surprised, but I think it puts the end of that question of, you know, is he going to play or not, which I never did think he would. I said before the matchup against Tom Brady in the playoffs that I thought Brady played the next year. I thought it would be Brees' last game if they didn't win. So that's that.
You know, the thing about it, though, Tommy, is it's kind of like, you know, when you're an old family member dies, whether it's your parents or grandparents or somebody, and they live to be 90 years old, you know it's inevitable, and you know it's going to happen at some point. They had a great life and a great run, and you're prepared for it, and you talk about it, but when it happens, you still are sad, and you still cry, and you still have those emotions, maybe not as strong as they would if they would have, you know, passed away at such a young age, but when they're older, you still feel sad, even though you think you're ready for it. I think that's how it is for most fans with Drew Brees yesterday. Even though we knew this was going to happen, and by the way, Ron Rance wins a couple $100. I had 2 $100 bets from friends that I made like earlier in the year, where I said I thought he wasn't going to be the quarterback next year; he was going to retire. So I need to make sure I collect on that this week.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's on you.
but the thing is, Tommy, like even though we were ready, we expected it. It still hits you, and it still makes you go, whew, man, it's going to be different not having Drew Brees out there. The one thing I can say, which is the ultimate respect for Drew Brees, Tommy, is every single time he took the field as a New Orleans Saints quarterback for the last 15 years, no matter the opponent, you thought, we got a pretty good chance to win this game. And that's not going to be the case, say, this year when you face Tampa Bay. You're going to be clearly going, oh, man, they're a big favorite here. They're probably going to win.
Yeah, well, I mean, nothing I can say that hadn't been said about Drew Brees. Nobody will ever wear number 9 again for the New Orleans Saints, and is going to be in that Ring of Honor in the Superdome. And, you know, he did so much for the Saints organization, the city of New Orleans, the state of Louisiana. I mean, he sponsored the Red Stick Bowl in Baton Rouge for several years, you know, for the high school all-star football guys. So, you know, it's hard to measure his impact. But you're right. Once a lot of reaction on social media yesterday, once the announcement became official of, you know, people thanking Drew Brees, you're always going to be my quarterback, go number 9. I mean, you saw all of that for just hours on top of hours. And I like the way he said he's not retiring from New Orleans or Louisiana. I mean, he's going to continue to be a part of things. He will get to spend more time with his kids. That, you know, the video with the kids saying Dad's retiring so he can spend more time with me. You know, all of us are parents, so everybody that is can truly relate to that. I spent time with my grandsons yesterday, so I mean, it's all part of it. But he's not going too far away, and I would not be surprised if he doesn't end up in some official role with the New Orleans Saints. Now, I'm not implying coach or offensive coordinator. I'm talking something in the front office where if he has a family thing, he can go do that, but yet he can still contribute to the Saints. Or maybe he just jumps into – he's got his hands in a lot of business adventures. Maybe he just jumps into that more full speed and does family first and then business second. And, oh, by the way, the Saints need a commentator for a preseason game. I'll go do that. I don't know.
Well, we know he's got the NBC contract all set up. So that's the first place he'll jump to this fall. We'll see him on NBC Sports. I don't know if they're going to have him in studio or doing games.
I think he's doing the Notre Dame games.
Is that what it is? Okay. So, and look, he lives – let's not kid ourselves. I mean, he can say all the nice and cushy things he wants about New Orleans, but Drew Brees lives in San Diego, and I mean, he may keep a residence in New Orleans and whatnot, and pop in occasionally, but his kids and his family and all are going to live out in California or Hawaii, or California is where they're going to live, and you can't blame him necessarily. And he's going to do the Notre Dame games. We know he's got his hand in multiple businesses, including walk-ons, of course. And he's always told Brandon, one of the founders of walk-ons, that whenever the time comes that he retires, he's going to delve even more heavily into that, because imagine Drew Brees going around the country selling franchises, or Drew Brees going around the country to your grand opening in South Bend, Indiana, of a walk-ons. I mean, it's a slam dunk. So if he wants to get involved in that, walk-ons who's already been taken off, it's going to go even higher. And all the things he's involved in, he'll get to do. But he's going to live in California. He'll pop into New Orleans, tip the cap, maybe check in on some charities or whatever. But as far as I think working for the Saints, Tommy, I don't know, unless he has a burning desire at some point later in his career to be a coach or be a general manager. Clearly the door will be open there in New Orleans if he wants to do that.
Yeah, I would think. And, he just retired yesterday officially. Let's let some time go by. And I'm sure he'll speak at some point, whether that's 2 weeks from now or 2 months from now, and maybe divulge a little bit of his plans going forward. I mean, but I think Saints fans, who – the number 9 jersey, I mean, it's going to be around forever. The Saints fans will never forget Drew Brees, and they should.
Going to be interesting, by the way, Drew Brees doing Notre Dame games. I mean, he went to Purdue. Notre Dame's a big rival. But I think this is also a way, Tommy, of Drew Brees kind of cutting his teeth, right? Go do the college game, go do Notre Dame, learn how to be a TV analyst, maybe even take a year or two away from the NFL. That way, when you do come back and you call the game as an analyst, you can be more honest, not offend as many people, because let's face it, you go right from the locker room to the booth. If you're being honest, at times you're going to criticize a coach, or you're going to criticize a player, or be critical of a player in a way that they're not going to like. And so maybe this buys them a little separation time.
It could. And I'm sure, Drew Brees is a well-planned guy. I mean, that's the way he approached the game of football. So I think he's going to approach his life after football in the same manner. He's going to have his to-do list and his priorities, and he's probably got a short-term plan and a long-term plan. That would seem like me, that would be what Drew Brees would do.
Is there a moment or two that stands out the most for you over the last 15 years that's specific to Drew Brees, that when you look back on his career at any point later on in life, this image or a game or a play will stand out for you?
Well, I certainly the Super Bowl, because, Ronnie, I grew up in New Orleans, as you know, Chalmette, St. Bernard Parish, and I remember the bad days of the Saints when Tampa Bay had never won a game and then finally beat the Saints in the Superdome, and, the Hank Stram. So I remember if we could ever just see the Saints have a winning season. I'm old enough to remember that thing. Wait till next year. So with all that being said, and the fact that I've been watching the Saints since the day they were born, I think my biggest memory is the Super Bowl victory, because there are people in the 70s and 80s that would have never dreamed the Saints would win a Super Bowl. You could only hope. So I think that Super Bowl and holding up that Super Bowl trophy that Drew Brees brought to the Saints organization, to the city of New Orleans, to the state of Louisiana, that's my memory.
For me, Tommy, it's so difficult to have one single moment. To me, I can't do one. It's a merge. It's a merge of sounds and memories. I'll take you chronologically. I think there's about 4 or 5 that quickly stand out. The first game in the Dome against the Atlanta Falcons, I've never heard a sound like that when Gleason blocked that punt. And the Saints went to 3-0, I believe, on the year with that win. And, all of a sudden, you're like, we got Drew Brees who's playing, we're like a real team. And that sound and that belief that he brought in the Dome in 2006, it was amazing. The parade, in New Orleans.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about the Super Bowl, but the parade in New Orleans was with over roughly 1 million people on the route. And him on the float and toasting, when he gets to the King's Toast area and toasting the crowd. And that was just so – that was almost like going to church, on Easter Sunday. You got to go, and everybody's going to go and give worship. That was amazing. I'll tell you, every single time he drove over the pile on the goal line and stuck that ball out and got popped. A lot of NFL quarterbacks, can't do it, don't have the athleticism to jump up like he does. And the fact that he knew he was going to take a hit. I mean, that was always the play to go to. And then finally, the book ended, Tommy. The vision of him, the visual of him and Tom Brady on the field with his kids throwing the football. It's like, this is the bookend. This is it. The first one was the Dome Falcons. The last one was Tom saying, hey, congrats. The goats are talking and the kids are throwing the ball with the goats. I mean, it was like an unbelievable moment, really cool moment. We got a chance to see it, obviously, with some of the cameras being there. But those sum it up. We'll talk plenty more about Drew Brees. I hope you're right that the Saints have a plan. And if that's the case, I imagine we'll see in the next week or so, who their quarterback in the future is going to be. Let's talk a little LSU baseball for a minute, Tommy. The Tigers knock off UTSA. Craig Schilling was impressed with UTSA, says they will be a team to watch this season. Guys battled to the end. They're out of Conference USA. They came in hitting 320 on the year, I thought, which is impressive. LSU's hitting 289, just to give comparison. Similar schedules, by the way, as far as who they faced. And UTSA battled the Tigers, though, 11 home runs on the weekend, Tommy. I mean, this is Gorilla Ball 2.0.
Well, just like we said before they played Oral Roberts, we're talking about Texas San Antonio. These are college baseball players. Not everybody gets a chance to play college baseball. Some of them have scholarships. Some of them were great in high school or junior college, and some of them are transfers, I understand. You got to get them out 27 times. They came to play baseball. They weren't intimidated. Maybe if there'd have been 8,000, 10,000 people in the building, they could have got intimidated, but they weren't. They battled, which is what you're supposed to do. I don't want to give them extra credit for battling because that's how you're supposed to play the game. It was really, really good baseball. And if you're an LSU fan, you got to feel fortunate that you won 3 games because, like in many baseball games, you're a pitch or an at-bat or a defensive play away from the game going the other direction. And that was certainly the case Saturday night. I watched all 13 innings. I mean, that thing went back and forth. I mean, Palminteri didn't have gray hair before the game, which he does. He would have had plenty. So, and so was a lot of the fans. But, that was good baseball being displayed by both teams early in the season because now LSU, you got Southeastern. Now, Southeastern's having trouble figuring out their infield, but they swept Sam Houston State this weekend. They're on a winning streak. So they're coming to Baton Rouge tomorrow night, but more importantly, Mississippi State's in town this weekend.
Stephen Miller pointed out fans say LSU hasn't played anyone this year. Louisiana Tech is an extra inning homer away from winning the series versus Arkansas. LSU played Louisiana Tech earlier this year. I don't know when you play one team if that battle tests you. I think baseball's a serious thing. But I will say this. We are in our bubble, and I'm guilty of it as much as anybody. We are in the bubble here watching LSU baseball, and we compare LSU baseball to what we see, past history, past teams, and how it all compares. What we don't necessarily do a good job of before the SEC play is truly know how LSU is against other teams. And what I mean by that is I don't really know how good this team is or that team is, and we can look at the rankings, but until we visualize and watch a number of games, you can't really know. Arkansas came in ranked number 1 in the country on Friday night at Louisiana Tech up in Ruston, who's got a nice team. Tech's expected to finish second in the Conference USA. That was the preseason predictions. They literally, Tech blew a 7-4 lead in the 8th. And then they gave it up, and they gave it up again and lost in extra innings. And then they shut out Arkansas on Sunday. So the number one team in the country, who was undefeated, I believe 11, 12-0 going into Sunday, they end up getting shut out by Louisiana Tech up in Ruston. And as Craig pointed out, or Stephen pointed out, really good point. Hey, they handle their business, and the bullpen doesn't collapse in the eighth and walk 4 and hit 1 and all that crap. They end up maybe sweeping Arkansas 2 out of 3. Mississippi State lost to, Ole Miss lost to ULM on Sunday. So we expect perfection, and we expect it to look pretty. Jacksonville State knocked off Florida 10-9 on Friday. I'm guilty as anybody, Tommy, of high expectations for LSU baseball, but clearly there's something to be said for the homer. There's something to be said for 3 good aces, 3 good starters, which LSU has, and there's something to be said for the moxie to just keep coming from behind. I
agree with that. When you can come from behind, you can overcome adversity, which is what you got to do in the game of baseball at any level. And, I think, baseball has changed so much since you played, Ronnie, certainly since I played at the college level. There are more good teams. You got more teams that got a pitcher that can beat you. It was rare back in the 90s to have a pitcher come in and beat LSU in a midweek game. That just wasn't going to happen. But because of people like Skip Bertman and Ron Polk, college baseball has elevated itself. And you know what, Ryan? It's only going to get better with the contraction of minor league baseball. Okay, with there's going to be less opportunities for guys to go to rookie ball and low A and high A. What are they going to do? They're going to go play college baseball. It might be at Texas San Antonio. It might be at Southeastern. It might be, at Oral Roberts. So therefore, college baseball to level, which I already thought was, in the SEC was as good as single A ball, if not double A in some cases. The level of baseball is going up, and LSU fans have to realize that going forward, that you're not going to win every midweek game like you did in the 90s. You're not going to beat people 12-0. I mean, there's a lot of good baseball. There's a lot of good coaches, a lot of good players. Travel ball is a reason for that. Private lessons is a reason for that. We can go on and on. So I think to take what you're saying, you got to realize that Texas San Antonio probably got a pretty good baseball team. Now, could they win the SEC? Probably not. But can they hang for a weekend? Yes, they did it this weekend, even though they lost all 3. LSU, as my son Brett said about Oral Roberts, they need to get them guys off the schedule.
Stephen Miller said, I don't care who the opponent is. If you come back in extra innings like LSU did on back-to-back games, that has to be a confidence booster to this team. LSU can now say we are in the game until the last out is recorded. That's true. Also, Buzzy's asked if I was feeling okay because I'm being pretty positive this morning. Buzz, who was on the call yesterday all weekend long. Yeah, Buzz, I am feeling positive, but when I look around at all the other SEC teams, they're not infallible. And so you gotta take a step back. Although right now I have about as much confidence in LSU's bullpen as I do if you or I were pitching, Tommy. So we got that. That is a problem, though.
Well, it's to answer Stephen Miller's comment about the coming back to back. Yeah, that's cute, but what's the reason for it? The bullpen did not perform well. You talked about that when we opened the show. You just mentioned it again. There's a fair question about the bullpen at LSU, and can they seal these games off? You give up a 5 spot in the top of the 9th and a 3 spot in the top of the 10th. That's not good.
Right now, Tommy, outside of your 3 starters, which all had good outings, and I mean, what a great bounce back performance by Jaden Hill. He went 7+ and he hit 98 in the first inning and cleaned it up and looked like the superstar we expect him to be. Labus, a little bit rough on Sunday, but the line was fine and did his job. So LSU starter-wise, good. Offense coming around. Home runs, yes. Moxie to come back, yes. Thompson at shortstop looks like that's going to be a fit. Doty getting used to playing third, had a couple bobbles this weekend, but he's offensively had 4 homers. You'll take that. But the bullpen right now, once the starter comes out, Tommy, it is. I mean, you close your eyes and you reach in the bag and you pull out a name and just hope. But I would say that for people, a lot of people were going crazy asking why Devin Fontenot did not pitch in yesterday's game. And I think it's a situation where Paul Maneri pitched him in back-to-back games in the middle of the week, wanted to get him right. It wasn't great. It was 3 walks. It was against teams that were hitting under 200, so we weren't worried about him scoring. But I mean, fun. And then Friday, walked a guy. So, but he got through. So Saturday was good. So, but he pitched 4 times in 5 days. I know he didn't pitch a lot, but he pitched 4 times in 5 days. And I think Pulmonary, probably rightfully so at this point in the season, non-conference, looking ahead to the future, knowing he's going to have to use Fontenot a lot, just didn't want to pitch him 5 times in 6 days, and had made that decision before the game that he wasn't going to pitch him, and decided I'm a ride or die with these other guys, and he almost died. But right now, as up and down as Fontenot's been, kind of like a stock a little bit, I still think at the end of the game I'm giving him the ball. He's my guy.
I would think that's what you see against Mississippi State. I'd also suspect he wouldn't throw tomorrow night no matter what. His numbers are okay other than a couple of walks, which you don't want to have. But, Coach Maneri knows more about it than you and I put together. He and Coach Allen Dunn figure it out. And, I was one of the ones who sent you a text like, why isn't he putting Fontenot in? And you coached me up on it, and I understood. So, we'll see what happens going forward. But you got, a decent Southeastern team coming to town. And then it's SEC play. I don't have to say anything else. It's time to start conference play.
RPI-wise, Mississippi State ranked 20th. I mean, we know that RPI is, anything the polls are ranked. LSU, Mississippi State are all ranked high. But Mississippi State and the RPI ranked 20th. LSU and the RPI ranked 66th. And Southeastern, your Lions, ranked 80th. So a good, respectable RPI for the Lions right there. We'll get into more LSU baseball and stats and things like that tomorrow. We'll talk about the back end of the bullpen. We know Fontenot right now still gets the ball in the ninth. We know who our 3 starters are on the weekend. Who's going to pitch in the middle? We'll get in that tomorrow with more Sports Shorts Daily. By the way, Kate Doty, the pride of Denham Springs High, naturally a neighbor of mine, lives a couple blocks away. His dad, Richard, I talked to a good bit. 4 home runs, Tommy. And this is the guy that missed 5 games due to that shoulder injury on a freak celebration in the dugout where he put his arms up, kind of messed up his shoulder, which had been messed up in high school. But, K. Doty had 5 hits on the weekend. 4 of them were homers. Thompson just came – his average is almost up to 300, the freshman shortstop who had a couple homers on the weekend. This LSU offense, the Marucci bats, baby. Kevin Ainsworth, Joe Lawrence, thank you for those hot Marucci bats because the ball's flying this year.
Yeah, well, they hit the ball out of the park. 11 home runs this weekend after none the weekend before. It's kind of crazy. That's baseball. But, no, Doty's done a great job at the plate. And, I would think the shoulder thing's not bothering him. It looks like he's swinging the bat pretty well with what I saw. And you got, like we talked about it earlier, Ronnie, 6 different guys hit a home run Sunday. If you got different guys in the lineup, not just hitting home runs, but can get on base. On-base percentage is more important than the batting average. You get on base at different spots of the lineup. That prevents that other team from, as Tony Robichaux would say, weaving through the lineup, knowing where they can get. The only guys they can get out now is the catching spot. Neither one of them can hit. So, but if you got everybody else is pretty much hitting, teach the catchers how to bunt so that people are on, they can bunt them over. But, so I think that's good. And with they said earlier, the confidence thing, if you're down a couple of runs or if you got the lead and the other team shakes back in, you got to just find a way to do it, find a way to win as a team. And, it's going to get tougher in SEC play. We know that.
We'll get into a lot of LSU baseball tomorrow. By the way, the old saying, right now, I feel so bad for Cade Beloso because I've never seen a guy hit the ball right on the button so many times in the last 5 games, Tommy, as Cade Beloso, and just not get any. That dude if he didn't have bad baseball fortune, he'd have no fortune. It's unbelievable. Cade Beloso is going to be fine because he's just in a streak right now where it's incredible.
Let's hope he can come out for SEC play, get out of the slump. Because he's certainly got the ability.
Yeah, baseball gods will come around for him eventually. All right, LSU basketball. Going into the selection show, what a great weekend LSU basketball had. They were 1 shot away from winning the SEC tournament. In typical LSU fashion, they took a bad shot, at the end. Not a shock.
Why don't you practice that stuff? Come on, it's not hard to figure out.
I mean, the game is on the line. You can be in the rafters with a banner, and that's what you do. You just dribble, 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 fade away, manhandle. Look, if we're going to take a bad shot, let Cam Thomas take that bad shot.
But Ronnie, why don't you go in that one of them empty ballrooms at the hotel and say, all right, guys, if we need a last-second shot, this is what we're going to do against who we're playing. Okay, this is the plan. So if we get to that, but obviously LSU doesn't do that.
I think they do it, Tom. I think the guys do whatever the hell they want.
Well, I agree with that.
They do whatever the hell they want.
I'll defend Will Wade. Yeah. I'm sure he's got all of that in place, but it doesn't happen when they go on the court.
And the other thing too is on that deal, Tommy, is okay. Maybe Will Wade said put the ball in Watford's hands and let him and isolate him and clear out. But I'm sure it's not to take a fadeaway three. I'm sure it's the drive. You got this big human being.
It's a 1-point game. Draw a foul. The ref will hit the whistle.
Take it to the rack, and I'd rather him throw up a contested 5-footer than a contested 3. And if we're going to just dribble, shoot, then let Cam Thomas take the shot.
I agree.
I mean, it was a clear isolation play because LSU had Smart and Thomas all on the left side of the court. Everybody was just standing around. Nobody was doing anything. So it was obviously an isolation play. And if we're going to run an isolation play, then clearly when he shoots the ball, let's crash the boards. I mean, he shoots the ball, and we got LSU dudes just standing there. It's just so frustrating. But look, they played well. Look, that was an Alabama team that absolutely owned LSU the first 2 times they played them. They played them down to the wire. And look, Alabama gets respect. They're the number 2 team in the country according to seeding. LSU went into the rankings with a 28 NET. We're thinking 7 seed for sure. Some people had them as a 5 or 6 seed, but a 7 seed for sure. And what does the NCAA do? The NCAA goes out and puts them as an 8 seed, playing Michigan in the second round if they advance past St. Bonaventure as a 1-point favorite. And Tommy, I think it's clear the selection committee, the NCAA, they just can't stand Will Wade. I mean, they're putting it to LSU every chance they get.
I agree with that, Ronnie, because they're one shot away from winning the SEC tournament. Then they got to be a 5 seed or even a 4 because there's 6 teams from the SEC that made the tournament. So, and Bama's a 2 seed in the East region, same region as LSU, by the way. So I think the NCAA definitely got it wrong, putting LSU at an 8 based on their performance in Nashville. That's my opinion. But so now all they can do is get ready to go play St. Bonaventure. They're a point and a half favorite, as you mentioned, and we'll see what happens there. Maybe it'll motivate Will Wade and LSU to say, hey, you're going to give us an 8 seed, okay, we're going to go get after it. And you're right, if they win and Michigan wins, that would be the second round matchup against the Wolverines.
I think there's something to what Craig Shillett says. Yeah, I think they envision themselves on video hitting the last second 3-point shot instead of driving in for a closer shot. Yeah, and they want to stand there and they want to do the Jordan or the Kobe and just, and do that kind of thing as opposed to being the guy that drives to the block, to the block and hits the 5-footer off the glass or winds up going to the foul line and making 2 free throws. Instead, it's got to be this. I just can't believe you're down a point. You got the basketball with 10 seconds or whatever. Like, that's it. That's dribble, fade away, hand in the face from a guy who's really not a 3-point shooter. Like, that's not what he does.
That's coaching, or it's players not listening to coaching. It's one or the two. So we can try to figure out what that might be. But, hey, we'll see what happens. They're in the tournament. That's one of the goals is to get in the NCAA tournament. Now go make a run in the tournament.
Did you see, Tommy, and we'll talk plenty about the tournament as we go. We'll make our predictions later on in the week as far as who do we think is going to win and Final Four and all that. But, Tommy, did you see – I got to be honest with you. LSU goes right from Nashville to Indianapolis to go in the bubble like all the other teams. They have to – for 2 days, they can't leave their hotel room. For 2 days, all the teams in the NCAA tournament are quarantined. They have to have their food delivered to their room. They can't leave their room, and then on the 3rd day, they'll be able to practice. They'll be able to practice and get out and do those sorts of things. They have to be tested. Look, I mean, this is like house arrest. You want to play in the NCAA tournament? You're going to be on house arrest for the next 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, Can we just play this in a state where they like? Can we play it in Mississippi where they let you run around?
That's going to affect everybody.
I feel bad for these guys to a certain extent.
That's going to affect everybody. Okay, all 68 teams, I guess it is. And I saw a graphic the other day. I couldn't hear it, but anyway, they got a list of virus replacement teams. In other words, if somebody has to bail out of the tournament,
yes,
you got a virus replacement team.
Ole Miss is the fourth.
They're a virus replacement. I mean, come on. I mean, move on with life. Be smart. If you get sick, go to the doctor. I mean, no, it just looks terrible. And look, I saw an interview on the MLB Network yesterday with Castellanos, the Cincinnati Reds guy, and they asked him about the difference. And he goes, "What I like about this year is I can go to the park when I want. I can eat breakfast when I want. I'm not being told how to live my life around baseball." Well, these college basketball players at the bubble in Indianapolis, in the greater Indianapolis area, they use several venues. They're going to be told when to go to the bathroom, when to eat, when to practice, when they're going to talk to the media. I mean, all of that's going to be controlled, and kids aren't used to that, especially at that age. I mean, you and I have all had, most people watching have had to make adjustments in our personal life, business life, social life, the whole thing. But we're adults. We're more resilient. These kids from 68 schools, there's going to be a tough one on the coaches to kind of keep them focused, keep them reined in, and maybe say, hey, all we can do is what we can do. We want to have a tournament. This is how it's got to be.
LSU playing St. Bonaventure Saturday. We don't know what time yet. Waiting on that. By the way, for folks that are watching, St. Patrick's week, we're going. St. Patrick's Day is Wednesday, so right now we're in the middle of the week leading up to it. We've got an online auction benefiting the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Foundation. It started last week. It ends on the 17th at 9:00. If you want to check out, we've got some unbelievable DREW BREES items actually on there. Go to lasportshall.com. And also we've got on there, Tommy, we've got a lot of Joe Burrow items. We've got dinners at restaurants, and we've got one-of-a-kind. You can go play a round of golf. 3 people can go play a round of golf with Todd Walker, go to lunch with them anywhere in the state of Louisiana. We've got an experience where Paul Maneri himself is going to take you on a tour of Alex Box Stadium, along with a lunch for 4 at the Stadium Sports Bar and Grill inside LeVaire's. He'll give you some autograph items as well. A lot of cool things, and not just sports memorabilia as well. Even got some jewelry for the ladies, some spa days as well. So go to lasportshall.com and help out the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and purchase an auction item, bid online. We really appreciate it. TK will be tomorrow over at Court Street Cafe. Tell us about what's going on at Tremonti's today.
Well, Ronnie, a big announcement from Tremonti's. Easter weekend's right around the corner now, and that's a huge time for crawfish balls on Good Friday, Easter Sunday. Make your orders now. It's not too early to book your live crawfish, your boiled crawfish. That's the best thing to do. They got them every day this week. The Tuesday special, we'll tell you about that tomorrow. Facebook and Instagram's got all the info. Chicken fried steak for lunch today. There's a lunch special every day. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, again, Facebook and Instagram. Book those crawfish. Reserve them. Live, boiled, it doesn't matter. It's going to be a big weekend for crawfish. Not expecting any more severe cold snaps between now and then. So it should be a plentiful crawfish for Easter weekend. Not that far away. Make sure you keep Tremonti's in mind. They can handle all your catering needs. Got a big catering job to an office going out today to like 24 people. Going to eat some Tremonti's meat and seafood products. Mike and the staff here do a great job. So we encourage everybody to check it out. And you're right, tomorrow I'll be over in Port Allen. Come out and join me. I got somebody meet me for an early breakfast, a late breakfast kind of thing, Ronnie. So that'll all be on at Court Street tomorrow. I'm reading this thing. Didn't see the TK ball. See, I would have to pay you to get an autographed TK baseball. So Ben, you got to pay Ben. But me, I got to give you the $5 in the ball.
Actually, Craig, we will be loading a Tommy Chrysan autograph baseball today on there. So no excuses.
Put that on there.
No excuses.
TK autograph baseball. Hopefully you can get $5 for it. I might have to be the only one to bid on it, though.
Yeah.
Put on there, Ronnie. I'll be happy to sign it for the Hall of Fame.
Good deal. He's Tommy Chrysan.
I expect Schilling to make a bid.
Absolutely. We're going to load him up there. We just got to figure out what the minimum bid is. We got to see what we think Craig would pay. At least $25, Craig.
It's got to be $25. I mean, if I put the left-handed autograph on it.
He'll be at Court Street Cafe in Port Allen tomorrow. I'm Ronnie Rance. Thanks for watching Sports Shorts Daily. Don't forget, go to lasportshall.com to help out the online auction. We'll talk a lot of LSU baseball tomorrow, get into the numbers as well, and some more reaction to Drew Brees from around the world of the NFL football and the Saints.